Dumela, Saobona, Sakase, Namaste, Abshin, Dubra Otra, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Doria Laria Show, where I invite inspirational leaders who instruct, inform, and inspire people to live life a little bit better than they did yesterday. And there's my beep. If I hear that, you hear that. That means I'm live on Facebook and on YouTube. Welcome to another episode. This is a surprise episode. Some of you who have been following me know that this is a really, really special day. If you see this, drop in the comments why it's very, very special. And then it's also special because the person that's going to be sitting right here is another mic man. I consider myself a mic woman. We're going to be talking to a mic guy, and he's a mic guy for a number of reasons. I want you to not only share this video on all of your platforms, invite people who are within education, because this is a part of a new classes in session. Please welcome to my show, Mr. Carl Michel.
Yes, we are here. How's it going?
Yay! I'm very, very excited. Very excited.
As am I.
Finally. So this is a big reveal for a number of reasons, and we won't talk about that. People will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. But I'm so excited to have you here on the show. This is a long time coming.
Absolutely.
I am just a fan of you and of your work. We have a couple of mutual friends, but I actually sort of eyed you before because you are like the guy on Clubhouse and on Instagram.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes. So let's get into you can give your own intro because you give it better than I'm gonna let you do your own pitch, Mr. Carl Michel. Go ahead.
All right. Well, first of all, before I even get started, I want to say thank you for having me on. That's first of all. Second of all, I appreciate you and all that you do. You're making some huge strides, not only in education, but in our culture as a whole. And third of all, your hair looks amazing. Yes, short hair don't care.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Looks beautiful.
So
for those of you who don't know, I go by the name of the young executive King Carl Michel. I'm a youth motivational speaker, best-selling author. I'm a writing and publishing coach. I've helped a little bit over 135 people become best-selling authors. Yes. I am in my studio right now. It's called the Royal Communication Center, the #1 recording studio, podcast studio, and photography studio in the state of Connecticut. Google verified. You can Google me, baby. And what's that?
So I am an alum of Connecticut College, which is also why I had to have you on. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Dope. I love that. And last but not least, I run programs all over New York City, especially for the youth. I'm in every single borough doing what we like to call our podcast club, where we come in, we host in school and after school programs where we teach the youth how to stretch out of their comfort zone, speak, interview, be interviewed, and just be the best versions of themselves. So if you're looking to bring that to a school near you, holla at your boy.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So we're going to sort of dial back a little bit and sort of like take a pause at each of the things that you talked about, because a lot of people need to know. And even so, this is for those of you who are sort of watching, this is a little bit of a stretch for Carl because he lives on Clubhouse and on the gram. And I'm like, no, guy, we over here on the book. We in the book. You gotta
I haven't been on Facebook in so long.
I know, but of course you're going to take the link and you're going to drop it on all your platforms so that all your people will be like, hey, wait, he's somewhere else as well. So fabulous. So one of the things that really first inspired me is that you pray before your shows. So I know you have like a Sunday evening.
Right. Sunday night prayers. Yep.
Sunday night prayers. And I said, who is this young guy praying like the Holy Spirit doesn't come down? I was like, okay, that's good, because the younger generation, as best as we can, needs to employ the power of prayer. And of course, where there is much prayer, there is much power.
Mm.
So you got a whole lot of power going on over there, and I'm really excited to connect with that.
I received that, yeah, and I thank my mom and my dad for that. When we were younger, we used to, let's put it this way: a family that prays together stays together. When we were younger, we all used to gather around at nighttime around the bed, get on our knees, and we would pray. And my mom and my dad would just lead these powerful prayers
Mm,
out loud, and we would all recite psalms together. We would sing and we would pray. And that's how I learned how to pray, through my parents who were praying. They're prayer warriors.
wow.
So they would pray all the time, and then it would encourage us to pray. The little kid prayers, but it evolved over the years to the point where I got comfortable praying out loud. And fast forward years later, sometimes you run away from God, you try to run from your calling and do your
Hmm.
thing in the world and all that stuff. It's a long story, but to make a long story short, I was a follower for a long time, and then I grew to become a leader. But my mom's and dad's teachings were always embedded inside of me. So when I came back full circle, um, uh, I really just started praying again. And it was Palm Sunday 2020, middle of the pandemic. Um, I was sleeping, literally sleeping. God woke me up out of my sleep around 9:30-ish. And he's like, go on IG live to pray. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? You got the wrong guy. I'm not. I said, no.
So that means I caught you right after that, because
Must
I
have been.
started watching, or somehow, some way, our mutual friend Tori. Shout out to Tori. We're gonna get Tori
Sorry.
into it somehow, some way. But she was like, "Hey, this guy Carl," and I must have been like, "All right, let me go see who this guy is." And it must have been on a Sunday evening, and you were like, "We gotta pray," and I'm like, "Who is this young guy?"
Thank
Like
you.
calling all these people to prayer. I was like, okay, this is the one to watch.
That was reluctantly at first.
Wow.
I did not want to do it. I said, God, you got the wrong guy. I ain't no pastor. I ain't no preacher. Pick somebody else. You got the wrong guy.
Hmm.
And he's like, no, it's you. And it was Palm Sunday. I'm like, I don't even know what a Palm Sunday is. And he
Oh,
said,
wait. But you were raised in a praying household.
I was raised in a praying household, but I to be transparent with you, we would go to church routinely.
Hmm.
And that was the challenge, right? It felt like a routine for me. So even though I was getting older in years, I still didn't understand like basic concepts or basic Bible stories. Like, sometimes preachers would be like, the story of Isaac when da 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 da. And I'm like, I
And you're
don't
like,
know the story of Isaac. Like, I don't know the basic stories. And that's when I was like, nah, God, you got the wrong guy. I don't know what this is. I don't know what a Palm Sunday is. He said, turn on your Instagram.
wow.
I go on Instagram, and a friend of mine by the name of Cassandra is teaching what the meaning of Palm Sunday is. And at the end, she prays, and she does a prayer of salvation at the end of her IG live.
Nice.
Turn it off, and now he said, it's your turn. And I'm like, nah, you still got the wrong guy.
God was calling you through the ground.
Through the gram. I was like, you still got the wrong guy. I jump on the phone. I call my friend, Shanika. I said, I think God's trying to get me to pray tonight, but it's late, It's like
He's
10.
up.
It's like 10 o'clock now. It's way too late to pray. And she said, no, Carl, it's never too late to pray. So I'm over here looking for excuses, and God keeps giving me confirmation. So reluctantly, I turned
Mhm.
on my Instagram. I prayed, and we prayed for hours. And when I tell you, I was crying, I was vulnerable. We literally had over 400 people jump on Instagram to pray with us.
Wait. Did you send it to people
No,
or it
I
was just
jumped on Instagram.
so then really it was God like directing people like go check him out. And you
God,
said you were praying for hours?
yeah.
Was this corporate prayer or was this you leading the prayer? Now, of course, this wasn't
No.
a conversation, but this is it.
It was a little bit of everything, right? So it was me leading the prayer. It was people jumping on the Instagram live to share their testimonies. It
Wow.
was us praying for the people that jumped on the Instagram live. So it was everything. And this was height of the pandemic when all the DJs were doing parties on Instagram.
Right.
So nobody was praying on Instagram. It was just me and 1,000 DJs. So it was different. It was scary, but I was called to do it. And I just had to realize that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Come on. Okay.
If it says it's you, then it's you. And
Right.
I'm acting like Moses, like, no, I can't speak. I can't do this. I can't do that. And God keeps telling me, no, it's you. I said so. And I kept trying to find excuses. And he's like, no, it's you. Go over there. And hundreds of people were participating in this prayer. And it was just so powerful and so moving. And it just was nothing like I've ever felt. It was so emotional. And I was so vulnerable. We were praying for hours. And then I just kept being consistent at those weekly prayers. Now, fast forward 2021, exactly 1 year after I started praying, I'm cutting the ribbon to the Royal Communication Center.
Come on, let's drop the verse. The prayers, the effectual, fervent prayers of the righteous availeth much. Okay.
I like that.
Let's give the Lord a shout out. All right. God.
I didn't even know this was gonna be a thing.
That's nice.
But God did.
God did it. Hashtag God did it. I love it. So let's segue in a clean way. You have utilized social media. You have utilized the mic in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to a little 80s rap here, right? The mic in your hand, because you were part of the hip hop culture as well.
Absolutely.
And you've, not that anyone meant it for evil, but you continue to make it for good. You continue to use it for good.
Right.
So you've dominated and you have an amazing platform, again, on Instagram, and then you slid over to Clubhouse and you were running a number of rooms. I know you're still running some rooms. And your heart and your passion in part is, thank you, Mom, availeth much. Yes, shout out to Mama. Thank you very much. Is for young people. And so talk about how you help the young, and then how you help the younger, how you help the young get visibility, right? Because it's all about visibility, whether it be physical visibility or it's audio visibility. So you help the people who pen, and then the people who profess. Oh, I like that. Write that down, somebody. So I'm good at that. So how do you support people who pen? How do you support authors?
All right. Well, it all started right here. Bam. So my book, 365 Hip Hop Daily Motivational Quotes. I wrote it for a number of reasons. Let's start there. Every time I turned on the radio, I heard a destructive message. Sex, drugs, money, violence. It was the same message, different beat, every single song on the radio. But it was old school KRS-One.
KRS-One.
If hip hop has the ability to corrupt young minds, it also has the power to uplift them.
Shout out KRS-One. Yes.
So that's the reason why I created the book, because of a destructive message that I was getting from hip hop. So I highlighted the positive messages the biggest influencers have said.
Nice.
Now, when I was going through my writing process, I tapped in with God, because it wasn't even my words. It was me connecting with God and letting it flow. Now, I had no idea how to publish.
Mm-mm.
I had no idea how I was going to do it. I just knew that somehow I was destined to be a best-selling author.
Mm.
Didn't know what that meant. Didn't know how many books that took. Didn't know how to get there. Didn't know how to do it. I had no idea how to do any of it. Um, and the people that I met along the way also knew that I had no idea
Okay.
doing.
But
So
were they kind?
I had some people take advantage of the fact that I didn't know what
Oh,
I was doing. And I felt like I was overcharged and under delivered as far as services
right,
were concerned. And for me, that was a huge learning experience, though. You know, I needed to go through that so I know what new authors are going through.
right,
So I created Write a Legacy so no one had to go through what I went through. Let me coach you every step of the way at an affordable rate so that way you get exactly what you need at each step. If you don't know what the resources are, I'll provide you the resources,
right.
right? I don't need any of your distribution. I don't need any of your royalties or anything like that. You keep 100% of it. I just want to coach you through the process so you're not making costly errors.
Excellent.
All right. So that's how we've been able to create Write a Legacy. It started out of need. I started it because I knew there was a lot of people that didn't know what they didn't know. And
Right.
there were some vultures out there that were getting ready to take advantage of them. So I just help people.
Excellent, excellent. And so I have to say also that you, what's the best word? I like to use the word polish. I think polish is just going to be my new word for this next year, including right now. And so you helped to polish some of the things that I was going through as a new author. You were totally the hype person, totally the hype person. So actually, let me just wait, let me pull it out. Let me pull it out. So because I love to live stream, I wrote my first book, which was
Yes.
2022 live stream planner. And it was really all about live streaming and how, as I love to say, how to push the live button and how to, get your face in the digital space. That's like my phrase.
Fire.
Right. And so I was like, oh my goodness, like, how is this possible? But it was after my collaboration with Dr. Tori Ellis. Shout out to Dr.
Tori.
Tori Ellis. Tori! And she and I have a beautiful collaboration on 2 books. She has, and she doesn't even know that I'm doing this because we literally just decided to do this a couple of hours ago. But I'm definitely going to shout her out and say thank you to her. She is the author and the inspiration behind I'm a Mini Entrepreneur. And so she has a series of children's books about entrepreneurship. And she tapped into a number of the people who are in her physical family and then her extended family. And so I'm considered very blessed and honored to be a part of her extended family. And she's like, hey, Miss Dorielle, Auntie Dorielle, can you help me? Like, I'd love to feature you in a book. And so that's where she introduced you to me because you had helped her with this book. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm trying to work on this. And you literally took all of the hard questions and the questions that I didn't even know to ask. And you just answered them. And I was like, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, like, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I don't even know where I'm going to get the money from to sort of pay you to do it. But you was like, this is what you do, A, B, C. And I was like, is that simple? And you're like, yeah, yeah. And I was just so enthralled. So very blessed, again, very humbled to be in your presence, to be counted as a person that you want to help. And you do this weekly. You do this weekly. I'm constantly getting messages about, hey, well, let's welcome and give a shout out. And, in essence, like I'll call it like a holy high five to the new author, right, of the week. And you bring them into a family. And that's very, very, very helpful. It's very, very helpful. Can't even explain how helpful it is. And so you pass the mic. I'll use that phrase. You pass the mic and you get visibility for authors. Most of them are adults. Mm-hmm. Then you have another aspect of your life where you pass the mic to younger people.
Right.
That is how I would have to say God literally crossed our paths at a very, 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 very
Right.
funny moment. Now, we won't talk about the actual location, but we will say that he was in a school. So tell us what you were doing for like a whole year, and I didn't even
Right.
know it.
Right. So I'm running a new program now called the Podcast Club. We're in every borough in New York City. It's been a blessing. We go into schools. We can do half semester programs, full semester programs, and we actually teach kids how to utilize podcast equipment. We just empower them to do what they're already doing or what they really really wish they could do, and that's being live streamers, being YouTubers, being gamers,
Yeah.
being knowledgeable and entertaining young adults, right? So we just empower them, teach them the skills that they need. I am a speaker, so I teach them how to speak. I am an encourager, so I encourage them to encourage each other. We do affirmations. We do just exercises where we get to know each other and ask each other informative, open-ended questions. It's just an amazing program. And the end result is I bring in one of my celebrity friends so the kids or the young adults can interview them at the school, and they have their very own podcast that we produce, and we and the school utilize it for the school social media. So it's just an amazing program, and we have so much fun doing it. And I was there, and I ran into you at the school that we were at. That's
It
crazy.
that was so hilarious because I saw my students. I saw my students. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to podcast club. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's maybe. Well, that's because again, like things are popping in my head, like, wow, who do they get to do a podcast? But again, because I'm on, let's say, one side of the hall, and I have
Right.
to stay on that side of the hall because that's my job, right? I could never go down and find out like who this was or whatever. And I was like, wow, that's great. I think if I would ever do sort of like a club, it would be that because again, I'm a speaker as well. I have to, of course, speak in front of young people all the time. I speak in front of adults, and I, as I say, push the live button at home. Maybe I can bring it. And I'm like, no, let me just keep two things separate. Let me let somebody else do that. That's fine. And here it is, the last day. My students come back. They come back from the club and they're like, oh, we're finished. And I'm thinking in my head, I was like, what is your culminating activity?
Mm-hmm.
But my kids were so tight-lipped, I never really knew like what the sort of culminating activity was. So, and I really was so happy that I was encouraged to choose young people who needed an opportunity to develop their voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say on my side of the hall, darling, I need you to speak up. If you want to be heard, you have to speak up. How are people going to hear you if you don't speak up? And so I'm really glad that you were also there to sort of mold and polish them in their speaking and presentation ability. So I was very thrilled about that. Then all of a sudden the door is open and I'm just looking down the hall and you just walk in or walk by and I said, Carl? You look at me and I look at you, I'm like, what are you doing here?
What? Yep.
What are you doing here? It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
So long before that, we were just virtual buddies, so it felt great being able to see you, that be able to hug you and really just reconnect with you. So
right.
that was an amazing divine appointment.
It was a divine appointment. So you said that you're in every school and
No, every borough.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Every borough.
I wish every school, girl. I'll be.
Listen, from our lips to God's ears. Hello.
Amen.
Let's multiply. So your goal for that, though, because I know you blessed at the end of the term or the period the equipment, and I saw the equipment, and I said, "Ooh."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of the song on like some of the IG reels, like, "Ooh, you did that." Like that was really, really nice. And so once you gift it to the school, is the expectation or do you follow up like the next term or semester and say, how are you continuing? Where
Right,
is
right,
the
right, right.
podcast living? Like, what's the next step?
So there's a term I learned in marketing. Fortune is in the follow up, right? So you gotta
Love
always,
it.
always, always follow up. Now, the great thing about what I do is I'm blessed to make a living while making a difference. So
Hello.
most
Into
people,
that.
most people would never empower people to the point where they no longer need them, right? So
Correct.
I create the program in a way where we teach the kids and whoever's helping facilitate the program from the school, we teach them enough that they don't necessarily need me if they don't want to utilize me in the future, but they always do. Right. So, so it's been a blessing. So I reach out every semester to follow up, see how everything's going. But I encourage them and I want them to continue the podcast program with or without me. But because we have such an amazing and pleasing experience, they always bring me back.
Excellent. Excellent. So I am going to, let's just say, whisper down the hall and say, excuse me, how's
Mm-hmm.
the podcast club
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It'd be really, really helpful if we had a podcast club going again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Trying to make a bigger name for
Yeah, so
our
it's the
school.
beginning of the semester, so I definitely need to reconnect with all the schools, and make that happen again. So we're doing a great job so far of connecting the dots.
So on that note, prior when you first pitched it to schools, did you pitch to schools that did not have a media presence? Like who was your ideal client? Like who were you after?
No, I reached out to everybody. And I wanna take this time. I don't think I've ever done it public. Well, I think I have, but I want to give a big shout out to Congressman Jamal Bowman. He is an incredible leader. He is a young black inspiration. I met him when he was a principal at Cornerstone Academy in the Bronx. He actually sponsored my vendor's license. Okay. So
Okay.
prior to him um, doing that for me, I was spinning my wheels. I was going to schools. I was still doing what I was doing.
Right.
I wasn't getting paid for it.
Right. Trying to get your foot in the door.
Trying to get my foot in the door. He gave me an opportunity when no one else did. And because of that
Love it.
opportunity, I've been so blessed financially.
Excellent.
And he also really just introduced me to every principal that he knew. And because of that, I've been able to constantly reach out to principals, constantly get booked and hired. And
Excellent.
because of him, I've been able to make multiple six figures ever since. And I want to give a big shout out to Jabal Bowman. Support that man, please.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So,
So
so I say all that to say, I reach out to the principals and whoever. It doesn't matter where the school's located. If they see a need or if they see a fit, we go ahead and execute the program.
okay. Okay. So one last question just about the podcast club. Um, do you do you teach them the, I want to say, like the inner workings of content, excuse me, content development and maybe voice, or do you also incorporate, maybe for the adults, not necessarily for the young people, these are the platforms that are appropriate and that are accessible for young people? Or do you like load them up on Medium? Do you load them up, you know what I'm saying? Do you connect them with YouTube, because you were talking
Right.
about gaming, or Stitch? Like, how, when you leave, you get them to practice interviewing a person,
Mm-hmm.
and then do you also say, now let me help you, develop your, let's say, your tagline, or your program name, your podcast name? How far does that go?
So it really just depends on the school itself and the program that they select.
Oh, oh, okay. So,
So,
so tell me
so
about the
those
couple
options
programs.
are available if we do the extended program. right? But if we do just a shortened version, like let's just say we do a half semester, which is about 6-7 weeks. If we just do a shorter program, what I would do in that time frame is I would have my team edit the podcast, send it to them or the principal or the school or the students, and really just show them how to upload on social media
Okay.
and let them take it from there. But if we do the extended program, we show them how to do all that. These are the platforms. This is how you get paid. Let's work on some captions together. Let's do
Love it.
YouTube. Let's do Instagram. Sometimes the school has Twitter. Sometimes the school has a TikTok. So we'll create these things. And provide it for the school's social media. And that helps the school itself retain the students, and it also helps them recruit new ones because they see there's a lot of amazing things going on at that particular location.
Of course. Of course. Of course. Okay. I was just trying to,
Yeah.
sort of figure out what, and now I'm going to step back and talk from a social media manager person or perspective, that you've sort of dripped enough to whet the appetite.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a, uh,
But can you see me?
yeah, I can see you.
Hold on.
So, up. Where did you go? There we go. You're back.
All right. So now I can't see myself, but I'm sure I'm there.
Okay. Yes, I see you. You hear me?
Yes, I can. Let me get out the comments. There we go. I'm out the comments. I pressed the comments button.
Oh, okay.
I was being nosy. Sorry about that.
No, no problem. So you do a little bit again, like to whet the appetite, and you sort of you're doing like your coaching, and then there's an aspect of you're doing it with them. No, actually, you're a part of it is you're doing it for them, right? If you're doing the editing and the uploading, that's doing it for them. And then there's a little bit of a I'm doing it with you, right? So you're teaching them about the content and just presence and voice. And then the extended version or the bring me back is so that you can really teach them to do it for themselves.
Right.
But of course, that takes additional investment of time, of effort, and of finances, which is totally understandable. What do you foresee with this particular venture? Let's say in 2 to 3 years, like what would you like to see across the boroughs? Like I have an idea, but I want to know if the Lord has divinely put this into your spirit. If it's the same idea, what would you like to see in about 2 and 3 years with this podcast club? And I'll say in the boroughs.
Well, we're in conversations right now with the Chancellor of New York City.
Okay.
Young black man.
Okay. Come on, Chancellor Banks. Come on.
So we're in conversations on making that happen as far as this being something that's distributed all over New York City. But the plan is to really, really, really take over. So I want to create something really, really big, not just in the city, but nationally, but also having conversations with iHeartRadio to partner up with them and do something really, really spectacular. Can't really give all the details.
Of course.
But we're looking to do some big things. So we're not thinking small. You need to think big.
Big enough that it will what? Scare you. I love it. And so big that without God, it probably wouldn't happen.
Absolutely. Nothing. I wouldn't be in the studio. I wouldn't be able to think about these ideas because this was based on because of the studio, because of the prayers that led to the studio, it led to the program.
Excellent. So this was just my thought. My thought is, and again, if it's connected, fine. If not, no problem. If there are podcast clubs, let's just say in each borough, and let me drop this into this conversation. I am a graduate of the FBLA, which is the Future Business Leaders of America.
So am I. Yes.
No.
Yes. I was in the FBLA in West Hill High School, Stanford.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my! I did not even know that. I did. Hold on.
Business Leaders of America.
Hold on. High five. The other way.
Ow.
There we go. What? Oh my gosh. So yes. So I cut my teeth, and literally every single thing I do in business, I'm always thwarted back to the moments of going to the state conventions and competing against other schools locally and then across the state, but always being polished by seeing the excellence across the state.
Wow.
And so when I hear about this podcast club, in my head I'm thinking, well, then there needs to be like some sort of, like, let's say, a city podcast, not competition, but show us what you got. Or New York City, there we need like a platform of podcasters within schools across the city. I'm always, always, always trying to get families to see into the classroom, not necessarily visually, but this is what I do for my own environment. Almost every day since the beginning of this school year. So yes, I'm a school teacher, and those a lot of people already know that. I use one of the platforms that we use for communication to let the families peek into the room. For example, hey, I'm sending a letter home. You have to make sure that your families get it. Guess what? Miss Larry is going to put y'all on a little video. Okay, tell them what is in your bag right now. Tell them what it is for. Families, make sure that you see it. But the families are like, wow, like we don't even have a question about really what's happening. And I think podcasting, just like some of my students are so fascinated about YouTube. Oh, I want to be a YouTuber. Oh, I want to be. Now, I don't let them know what I do after 3 o'clock, but I'm like, so you really want to be a YouTuber? Okay. How many followers do you have? And they're like, oh, I have like 7.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, what's your content about? And then they look at me and they're like, Miss Larry, what do you know about being a YouTuber? And I just say, oh, I don't know. I just watch one thing or another.
Right.
And
Right.
then they're like, Miss Larry knows something. But I think it's amazing that the podcast world is now a viable communication device. It is a tool that is and can be utilized for a variety of informative processes, and it is educational if it is used appropriately.
Right. Right.
So I'm glad that you are spreading the word. Let me get out my Yeti. Let me just get out my Yeti. That you're passing the mic, that you're teaching the students the power of the mic, and that the power of voice. So important. And again, some of the I call them my lovelies that I sent to you, not knowing that it was you, um, are ones who needed practice with
Right. Right.
voice. And I thought, I said, if anything else, I hope that later on in life that they remember they had an opportunity to be on a mic.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they see the presidents of the United States, when they see, people in the legal field, people in media, people in who are artists, who are, whether it be singers or playwrights, whoever, and they have a mic, I want them to remember you had that opportunity with Mr. Carl.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so I say, if you can say it, you can write it. So do you do some of the author work in schools as well? How do you get that out to young people? How do you impress
Haven't yet. I haven't yet. That is something that we're working on pretty soon, and I would definitely love to do that because we haven't incorporated any writing workshops in the schools as of yet. But I would love to create.
yet?
Yet, absolutely, I would love to create some new authors in the schools. There's a gentleman that is an author specifically for children's books that he's been reaching out to me to connect about that specifically. So that can happen sooner than we know.
Excellent.
But
Okay.
yeah, I love the idea of a nationwide or a citywide podcast display. There is a company, NPR, who does
Yes.
national competitions for youth in podcasting. So I
I
would like
didn't
to
know
I
that.
would like to submit some of my podcasters for the national competition so they can be podcasters of the year. So I'm going to take a look at NPR's website to see what the competition requirements are, but I'm definitely going for that title.
Oh,
One of my schools to be podcasters of the year.
that's fabulous. That is fabulous. I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope we get the opportunity to, connect again on this platform. I really do pray that more schools in the community that I am in can see the value of artistic expression utilizing the mic.
Right.
Right, utilizing. We focus on visual art. We focus on performance art, um, and I want to use the phrase poetry slams have become a little bit more familiar with specifically like high schoolers. Maybe some middle school, but getting some of that free verbal or vocal expression, into younger spaces is extremely important as well, especially when communities are trying to squelch and the voice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So excited about that. So you have, and let me see if I can run down. You have the Podcasters Club within educational spaces. You have you promote authors and get them to become number one bestsellers. Thank you. I
Yeah.
And yes, I'm going to do the same thing again and take the date off so we can make it outdated. And you're also definitely an inspiration with it. And the weird thing, it's not weird. I think it's amazing that you're in Connecticut and you're in the 5 boroughs. Please tell me, how many counties or cities are you in Connecticut?
Not enough.
What?
Not enough. Yeah. Connecticut.
You're a stranger in your own land. You have to come to another state in order to be recognized.
Sometimes I forget the exact phrase, but sometimes you have to leave home to be celebrated home, right? So I've been very, 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 very successful outside of Stamford, Connecticut.
Wow.
So when I am home, though, I tend to volunteer my time and make things happen. So it's more so community efforts that I do here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed to be a blessing,
Right.
because of the networks and the connections that I have made in my hometown. The last 3 well, the third week is coming up this Saturday, but we've been able to give away hundreds of tablets to underprivileged families.
I saw that.
We did that last week on Saturday from 10 to about 12. We did that the week before from about 10 a.m. to about 2 p.m. So we've been giving hundreds and hundreds of tablets away. So in here, I still do some work in the schools, but I have high expectations for myself. This is my community. This is my town. I want to do more, so I am reaching out to the schools in my area as well. But in the meantime, we're partnering up with the Stanford Police Department. We're partnering up with other businesses out here, and we're partnering up with other organizations, so that way
I was just about to ask.
So we've been giving out hundreds and hundreds of tablets. I think we're at over 500 so far. We've given out in the last 2 weeks, and we have one more week coming up where we aim to give out another 300 or more.
And these are donations from the partnerships that
we've created, right? Absolutely. So we've created some partnerships where they've been able to give out free internet service for 5 years. They've been giving out free tablets to kids and adults that are in an underprivileged situation. So we put on. So
I may have to bring you back because this is phenomenal. I'm really, really blessed. Again, really blessed to have you here to talk about how you are teaching and thinking and encouraging learning outside of the box. And so this definitely is an episode for my series called A New Class
I love that.
Session. A new class is in session. This is definitely one for the digital books, right? The digital books.
Yeah.
As we sort of wrap up, let people know where you are now. Listen, I don't know if you have a calendar, like you have a strict calendar. Like I know I can catch you on Sunday evenings.
That.
I know, like I caught you on Clubhouse the other day, and you were like, "Oh my goodness, I haven't been here in a minute, but hey, let's get back into it." And there were like tens of people. Like
Right.
I want to say, I'm saying tens, like at least 20 to 30 or 40 people within like 6 to 7 minutes who popped on. I'm like, "Oh my goodness,
Mhm.
this is great." So, where do we find you, and what are you doing when we find you?
Right, right. So everything I'm on all. Well, you see that streaming down the bottom. Follow on all social media platforms at Young Executive, YOUNGEXEKUTIVE. Doesn't matter what the platform is, you'll find me there. YoungExecutive.com. Um, Write a Legacy or Royal Communication Center. So you'll be able to find us on those on all particular platforms at Young Executive. And what I'm doing, inspiring and impacting. It was the great Tupac Shakur who once said, "I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee I will spark the brain of the person who does." So my
Mm,
job is to
I
be
love
the spark, and my job is to provide the spark.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You have been a blessing to, of course, your family because you are taking the seeds that they have planted in you through prayer and song and worship. You're expounding upon that in your own environments as a young black male, as a young black male, graduated from college and doing the thing within your own community. And for the moment, you have to travel across the bridge and come back to, and will come to the city, to the
I'm
boroughs.
okay with that.
That's fine because listen, like if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Talk to him. That's a fact.
Listen, Connecticut, they'll pick it up. They'll pick it up in a minute. After you blow up our cities in a great way and get us on the mic. And you're also just empowering people who want to put pen to paper or keystroke to, word processing document and get their thoughts and their heart's passion not just onto paper, but into a published book. And then you, let's just say lovingly, have figured out the algorithms of how to make it that number one bestseller. I was
Yes, yes.
amazed at how fast that happened. So looking forward to continuing to work with you. I pray that people pick this up, and I'm sure you will share this on your own platforms so that people can continue to spread the word. Those people who are watching, whether live on the replay, if you know of a school. So listen, he's in Connecticut, he's in Stanford, ain't nothing but a hop, skip, and a jump to the
Right.
boroughs. Because if he can get to Staten Island, okay, we already know
I
he
don't
can get anywhere.
know.
He
Yes,
can get
yes, yes.
anywhere. But share a school who needs some artistic expression, podcasting, and he brings the equipment. That's the amazing thing. I was like, well, how they gonna podcast and we don't
Keep
we
the equipment. Yep.
right, he brings the equipment and then leaves it. Like, and that was really I'm telling you, I was like, shoot, I need that for my own home studio.
We,
Okay.
we, we do we do creme de la creme, top shelf podcast equipment. So brand spanking new Roadcaster Pros
I love it.
for the old school. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And so, again, you get authors sort of out of the yellow, I want to say out of the yellow notepads. Oh, I don't have one. Here we go. Like out of the yellow pads and into an actual book. You get people's voices onto the audio screen and the airwaves. And you also move and shift hearts closer to God, especially by being a young black male in this community. And I'm saying this specifically because I popped on one day after there was an incident that you had gone through, and I was watching you sort of unearth and process that live, and you were you were unashamed and transparent about what had occurred. And so for you to continue to speak, to continue to empower, to continue to encourage those people to keep speaking, keep writing, and keep standing firm, that of course needs to be applauded. So that is it for our show of A New Class is in Session. This is season 2, episode 35 with Carl Michel, the young executive. And I'm so blessed to have had you. So those of you who are watching, you know who I am. My name is Joriel Enes Larrier of Larrier's Education and Resource Network. Check out the mug
Nice.
where I plant seeds to help you grow. And I look forward to seeing you again. This was a special episode. I just needed to come and chat with Brother Carl. But I'll see you on our regular schedule of programming days of Monday evenings. See you next week. And be an inspiration to somebody. Speak up. And you know what I always say, push the live button. Get your face in the digital space. I'll see you all later. Carl, you hang out for a second.
You're amazing, Queen. I appreciate you.
All right, you stay right where you are.